Hey everyone, I wanted to talk to you all today about set-asides. So that's another frequently asked question that I get. Are set-asides important? What are set-asides? What do I qualify for as far as set-asides? Does the government care about those? So I want to get into that after the intro. Hey everyone, welcome to my channel. Here on the Sheenapreneur channel, I share information about government contracting, veteran business content, and other business tips. So set-asides are something that the federal government recognizes as a disadvantaged group having the ability to compete for federal contracts. So federal government recognizes it, also corporate agencies recognize that, and sometimes the local government recognizes that. So for the purposes of this video, I'm going to mainly be talking about federal contracting, and if I'm talking about other set-asides, I will address whether it's a local set-aside or a corporate set-aside. So for the federal government, there are certain percentages of disadvantaged groups that the government sets aside contracts for. So for example, service-disabled veteran-owned small businesses have a 5% market share, if you will, for all of the government federal contracts that are out there on the interwebs, right? Or out there in the world, literally all over the world. Anywhere that the US has a presence, typically there's going to be some sort of contract associated with that where they have US troops there or they have contractors there. So you just consider those contracts to be all around the world. So there's about 5% market share out of trillions of dollars that the government says, hey, we want the service-disabled veteran-owned small business to have the ability to compete for these contracts. So that's for service-disabled veteran-owned. So just remember that that is an actual certification that you have to get. It used to be on the VetBiz site, but now it's on the SBA website where the other certifications are pretty much held. So you would need to go to the SBA website, and if you go under contracting, you will see where you are able to certify your business as a service-disabled veteran-owned small business. So what is considered service-disabled veteran-owned? That is anything 0% or above. So 0 to 100, you are able to certify your business as you yourself, whoever the owner is, as long as you're 51% owner, are able to get a service-disabled veteran-owned small business certification for your business. Now, another question that has come up multiple times, and I actually had to do my research on this one, is if I am permanent and totally disabled, am I able to still perform contracts? Your business does not correlate with your service disability. Now, I know some people may have that question, if I'm still working, if I have my business, if I'm permanently disabled, like how does that relate? It does not relate. So from what the research that I have found out and from the people at the Veterans Affairs that does the disability that I have spoken with, they all are saying that that is not something that is going to impede your ability to get your service-disabled veteran-owned certification and or to pursue and action contracts that you may be awarded. Now, with the service-disabled veteran-owned small business certification, typically the Veterans Affairs Hospital is the one that's going to give the service-disabled veteran-owned small business the advantage to have the contract first compared to any other group. The Veterans Affairs Hospital is going to be the agency that is going to give the service-disabled veteran-owned small business first dibs, if you will, to the contracts that they have available. And of course, the Veterans Affairs Hospital does everything under the sun. So they may need janitorial, they may need repair, they may need construction, anything like any other business if you are in that industry, or even research and development. So if the Veterans Affairs Hospital or Veterans Affairs Clinic or anything associated with the Veterans Affairs, if they need service, they're usually going to present the opportunity to a service-disabled veteran-owned small business first. And that may be a sole source contract. Now, unlike some of the other certifications, the 8A certification you can sole source, and also the service-disabled veteran-owned small business certification, they can sole source. So just remember, if you are service-disabled veteran-owned, you may get a call from the Veterans Affairs Hospital saying, hey, we want you to put in a quote for this item, for this thing that we need done at our facility. So that's the only other one, to my knowledge, that you're able to get sole source on the veteran side. So the question is, are any of these certifications important? Yes and no. Certifications are just an added bonus to your already existing business. Now, with the exception of the 8A program, just speaking about the service disabled, veteran owned, woman owned, Hubzone, as far as federal government is concerned, those are all additives because like I said, they're percentage based set asides. So the woman owned small business certification is 5%, and then the Hubzone is, I believe, 3%. So with that means that there are 95 to 97% of all contracts are not going to be set aside. So you can still participate with the federal government without having a set aside attached to your business. Now, it's a bonus. Like I said, if a contracting officer is looking to fulfill a goal and they need more women in construction, then they more than likely will reach out to you if you're in construction and you're a certified woman-owned small business. Now, they can also put that contract set aside for total small business. That's actually a category. Total small business makes up 20% of all contracts. So if anything you would want to qualify for is small business, which most people starting off all companies that start off are going to be a small business. And small business doesn't mean under $1 million. Depending on what industry you're in, like with mine, construction, that is 25 million, I believe it's 25 million, 22 million, 25 million or under in revenue, that is still considered a small business. So total small business set aside is also a set aside. Now, if a contract comes out and it's unrestricted, then that means that any company can go after it. And so will you have a chance of getting it? Maybe, maybe not. It just depends on why did that contracting officer put it out for unrestricted. Usually that means that they're not looking to have a small business perform this work. It may be too large and maybe too complicated, or they may already have an agency that they want to do business with in their mind already, and they just have to put it out for bid for formalities. Now, the woman-owned small business certification, like I said, is 5% set aside, and then you have the economically disadvantaged woman-owned small business set aside certification. I have a video where I describe the woman-owned certification and how you can best present yourself to primes and subs when you have the certification, and how to best present yourself at networking events. I'll leave the link in the description. But overall, the woman-owned certification is a great certification, especially if you're in an industry that is not typically run by women, like IT, construction. It's important, for feminism. It's important for women to be in those industries and for them to get the certification so they can present themselves to other agencies or other primes and or subs and large companies, so they can get a market share. It's really, really important to have it because it's free, and why not? You're able to present yourself in a way that may be different if you're going on the commercial sector, especially for those industries that are most likely not run by women. So the Hubzone certification, important, but it's a very underutilized certification, partly because of most people are not in a Hubzone location. I also have a video about how to find out if you're in a Hubzone location. I'll leave the link in the description. But basically, the Hubzone certification is where the government stated at some point in time that this specific area is not being utilized. It's underutilized, it needs to be reformed, and so they have put together the Hubzone certification in specific areas of all over the country, and it really doesn't matter where it is, because there are some locations where you're in a Hubzone and across the street it's not considered a Hubzone. So we don't know the method to the madness. I don't know the method to the madness, but you just put in your zip code, and then that location will tell you if you are, the website will tell you on the SBA site that you are in a Hubzone or not in a Hubzone. So say you are in a Hubzone location, whether it is your home office or your office, you're in a Hubzone location, yay, congratulations. But in addition to that, 35% of your workforce also needs to live in a Hubzone. Not that Hubzone, but they need to live in a Hubzone somewhere. So you would need to have, say it's just you're a business of one, then you need to have an employee, someone who's written as an employee, who is on your books showing multiple months of payroll, and they have to live in a Hubzone and they have to provide proof. So it's kind of hard to dance around getting the Hubzone certification if it's not legit. But just saying, for those of us who are trying to be innovative and they're trying to make the dream work, just know that 35% of your workforce needs to be in a Hubzone, and that's continuous. So if you're an employee, you started off as a solopreneur, You hire someone for that purpose, or that happens to be your partner in business, and they go bye-bye. Now it's just back to you. You no longer qualify for that Hubzone certification that you've already been certified. So you are supposed to, by law, and I don't like the color orange, you are supposed to, by law, ensure that you let the agency know I'm no longer Hubzone qualified. So that may not be a death sentence, because if you already have a contract with that agency, they may change or do an amendment to that contract for you. Just in case something crazy like that happens, you are able to contact the agency and say, hey, I'm no longer Hubzone qualified. It's hard out here in these streets. All of my employees quit. They went bye-bye. They're going to do their own thing. Now I'm no longer Hubzone qualified. They may change it to, if you're 8A, they may change the 8A. If you're woman-owned, they may change the woman-owned. They may change the SD WOSB. You never know. Or they just give you the contract and have some sort of stipulations attached to it. So you never know what the truth may actually get you when you're trying to navigate the set-aside certification. So with that, I want to spend some more time on 8A certifications. So that's the number 8, little a. 8A certification is a whole program. So it's kind of hard to say that that's just a certification, because it's a program that comes with it. You get a mentor. It's very, very, very challenging to qualify for 8A certifications. The statistic is 70% of all applications for 8A get rejected, which is interesting, because I had to find out why people are, one, getting rejected. Why is this certification so hard? I did all of my own certifications personally. I didn't pay anyone to do it. I did certifications for other people, and I see how challenging all of them are, but I was trying to figure out why the 8A certification was so much more challenging when it comes to the application process, and why so many people are rejected. And one commonality that I found is that with the 8A certification, most people go after it when they have been in business for over 10 years, over 15 years, even some people over 20 years. And so with that, there's so much documentation that you have to provide. And especially if you're married, they want a lot of extra details for your spouse. So with that comes challenges, comes delays. And then if you're delayed in your application, then that could start the process all over again. And now you have to provide a whole new set of books, or your P&L, or a whole new tax return. And so that delays the whole process. So that's one thing that is a problem with the 8A certification, is if you're not already ready to go with all your documentation, I would say don't even apply for it until you know everything that you're gonna need. And in my course, I do have a 8A checklist where it just kind of lays everything out. So it's good to have that stuff as you're building as well. So then the other side, the complete flip side of that, is that if you're brand new, a lot of people will want to get the 8A. That's all they say. They're like, I want to get 8A certified. Sheena, like, how do I get 8A certified? That's not really a lead-in question. That's more like, okay, now that I understand my business, now that I want to expand more into the pretty much 8 figures, because it's almost guaranteed that you're going to go straight from essentially whatever amount to 8 figures pretty rapidly, which a lot of people are not ready for that type of growth. So if you're just starting out, you set up your LLC, quote unquote LLC yesterday, and you got your EIN this morning, you're probably not ready for the 8A program, because it's only 9 years per person, per social security number. So it's not like it's 9 years per business, it's 9 years per you, the person. So it's really important to utilize all of those years as best you can, because once the years run out, that's it. It's done, unless you're able to get another company, and that's a whole nother process. And I might do a video later on the 8A certification. I personally don't have the 8A certification, but I am doing a lot of research to find out, the different things to bring to you all, so you know what that really would look like if you're going from cradle to wedding, and you have an idea of how you can best prepare yourself. So with that, if you're brand spanking new, I would just caution that you wait for a few years until it's actually a business that you really want to do, because people will start off, the main thing that people come to me and say they want to do in government contracting is janitorial. I don't know why y'all want to do janitorial. It is not easy. Now, in my previous video, I talk about it's a low barrier to entry, which is cool, but it's not easy. It's easy only because you can grab someone and have them work, but the work itself and the subjective nature of janitorial is what will really turn you off from janitorial. So with that, I would say wait on your 8A certification for a couple of years just to make sure that you're not wasting the years. If you ask anyone who just got into 8A brand spanking new and didn't even have a business yet, they will typically tell you that they wasted the first couple of years. So it's really, really important that you're utilizing all 9 years, maximum benefit. And then also, just like anything else, when you're going to hire someone to work in your house or to work for you or whatever, you always looking for the credentials. Why should the government give you any work if you have nothing? If you've never ever done this in your life, you can't even pretend like you have. So the government is still gonna look at your company that's brand spanking new, and they probably still won't give you any work. So now you have the 8A certification, the time is ticking, and you're still not getting the work. So it's more advantageous for you to go out here if you don't have any experience. There's some people who have been doing their work for 20 years, not in government contracting. So yeah, you have the experience. But if you're brand spanking new, why should the government give you any contracts? Like, what makes you special? Just because you got the 8A certification doesn't mean jack. There's some people who had 8A certification and never got a contract, whole 9 years. Now, what they were doing during that time is really relative. I have no idea, but there are some people who have never won a contract and they have the 8A certification. So you want to maximize your ability and maximize your chances of getting the best, most fair contracts, because in addition to that, if the agency, say it's the CDC here in Atlanta, here in Georgia, really the Southeast, they really, really love, these agencies love 8A. Now, what I find with that is that in certain parts of the country, a lot of agencies will lean more toward certain set-asides. And I found that like the Northeast, they really love the SDVOSBs. They love veterans. I don't know why they don't love veterans in the South, but they really, really love the 8A certification. And so with that, they can call you tomorrow and say, Sheena, okay, you do janitorial, you do floor repair, so we need you to do all the Veteran Affairs hospitals or all the CDCs. I don't know how many CDCs there are, that's probably a bad example, but all the Veteran Affairs hospitals in the whole Southeast, can you start tomorrow? Can you actually ask yourself that? Can you ask yourself as a business owner, if I were to get that call tomorrow, can I execute? So that's a you question. When you're thinking about getting your 8A certification, you may get lucky because you're in a special niche or you're in something that they've been waiting for someone to get the 8A certification to perform this work. And they call you tomorrow and ask you, can you do this work for 100 locations? You have to be able to answer that for yourself today in case you get that call tomorrow. So a lot of people ask me about the like there being a minority certification. So the 8A certification is the closest thing you can get to a minority certification. It's not really a minority certification, but as a minority, you automatically qualify, which is relative, for the 8A certification. If you're a woman, you automatically qualify for the 8A certification. I don't know about the veteran thing because we have our own certification, but if you are a white male who is not a veteran, you could still get the 8A certification if you can prove that you are disadvantaged. So the 8A certification is more as a disadvantaged set aside, a disadvantaged certification, and not a minority certification. So just to rule all these things out that people are saying, I got my, my DBE and my MBE, but that is not federal, that is local. So moving on to the local side, they have what's available, corporate and local, is your DBE. So DBE is local for local contracting set-asides and for corporate set-asides. And that's a disadvantaged business enterprise. And typically you have to pay for those. And they go through different agencies. Same thing with the MBE. So the MBE is a minority business enterprise. So that's actually specifically minority certification on the corporate side and on the local side. And people will say, hey, I got my DBE, I got my MBE, where the money at? Like, where the contract's at? Doesn't work that way. You have to ensure that, well, you're on a list. You are on a list typically on both sides, corporate and especially local side, but that doesn't guarantee you any contracts. So the question goes back to, are set-asides important? Ish, they are and they aren't, because people will stop their process of doing their government contracting journey. They'll just stop and get their certification, and it takes them a year to get their certification. All the while, they should have been doing it simultaneously, bidding on contracts, going to networking events, building relationships, and applying for their certification all at the same time. The certification is not the beginning point. The certification is just an injection into your business. So just remember that when you're going into the corporate side, local side, federal side, that the certification is not stopping you from starting your government contracting journey. So in my course, I teach about business setup, how to set up your business properly if you don't already have one, some free resources for your local area and for veterans, and how to get a corporate sounding name if you don't already have one. I just kind of go through that if you don't have a business. I talk about federal contracting, local contracting, corporate contracting, and of course I have something for my veterans with all the experience that I've had in this government contracting journey and some freebies for my veteran business owners. So until next time.